Yo, what's good guys? Gannon here. Today we're going to be talking about a top 5 most defensive devil fruits in One Piece list. A couple rules though, I am going to be judging these devil fruits on the basis that they're like the devil fruits themselves. I'm actually judging the potential that each fruit has rather than the actual character that possesses that fruit. So when I rank somebody with a fruit above somebody who's definitely like stronger than them, that's not me saying that I think that that character is stronger than the person below them. That's just me rating them in the context of this list. So when I put somebody who's weaker above somebody who's stronger, that's not me saying that I think they're stronger. That's me saying that I think their devil fruit has a lot more potential as well as defensive capabilities. Another thing I would like to mention is that I'm going to be putting all the Logia type fruits into an unofficial number 6 spot. I do understand that some Logias are more defensive than others, and that all Logia users are basically invulnerable to more than half the One Piece universe's population, definitely. So in the grand context and scheme of things, Logia fruits are in fact like super defensive. They basically turn the users into gods against normal people, but for that reason I'm going to be putting them in an unofficial number 6 spot because I don't think listing off some of the more defensive type Logia fruits is in any way interesting. With that being said, let's get right into the list. We're going to be starting off at number 5 with the Shiro Shironomi, aka the Castle fruit. Alrighty, the Castle fruit, otherwise known as the Shiro Shironomi, allows the user to become a literal living fortress, making them a castle human. This is the one fruit on the list where we've seen pretty much everything it's capable of. Beige has utilized it pretty much to its fullest potential, or so I believe. It's been put to the test and has very apparent defensive feats. The function of this fruit is basically to make the user a castle human. It does this by surrounding the user in an aura, and things that leave and enter the aura change in size, allowing the user to basically store whatever he wants inside his own body, whether that's people, ammunition, food, literally anything this dude can just put in there because his body is a fortress. The fruit also allows them to fully expunge the fortress and bring it outside the aura, allowing the user to fully transform into a giant, very defensive fortress, aka the Big Father mode. It also allows the user to control everything that happens inside the fortress, its appearance, the walls, the corridors, everything using telepathy. It allows the user to walk around inside the fortress as a host using some weird goop. This fruit lacks any reliable offensive capability since it's armed with like artillery, cannons, guns, and waves of fodder gangster pirates, which are all pretty much useless to the higher tier enemies in the One Piece universe. However, the user can trap their enemies inside the castle, you know, the place that they're pretty much a god in, and control the environment inside the castle to defeat the enemy. The drawbacks of that, of course, is it's kind of unreliable. You gotta find some way of fucking getting your enemy inside you. Some of the higher tier enemies in the verse are just too big to enter the castle, I'd be willing to guess. And it's also risky because while you are allowing people inside the castle, you know, a place where you have full control and manipulation and you're going to be able to defeat them pretty easily if you're intelligent, there's also pretty big risk there since the interior of the castle is like also the interior of the user. A very high strong level opponent could, given the opportunity, really fuck you up from the inside. This fruit's biggest defensive feat is definitely the fact that it was able to take a prolonged beating from the entirety of the Big Mom pirate crew, including Big Mom herself. This alone lands the Shiro Shironomi a number 5 spot. Since its defensive capabilities are impressive, but it has obvious limits, you'll see that the fruits above it are more defensive and would definitely have a better score on the JoJo developmental potential score. With that being said, let's move on to number 4. Alright, coming in at number 4, we have the Kira Kironomi, aka the Sparkle fruit used by Diamond Jozu. When the fruit's name was originally announced, the translation was interpreted to be the Glitter fruit, but now I think it's common consensus that it's called the Sparkle fruit, question mark. I preferred the Glitter fruit. I thought it was a lot funnier of a name, and I just felt it more fitting. But hey, what can you do? This fruit is basically the better version of Dazbone's Dice fruit, which allows him to pretty much fully transform his body into steel and create blades and stuff like that. Since diamond is like one of the hardest substances in the One Piece universe, it gives the user the ability to coat them in a hard diamond exterior. This fruit, accompanied by something like armament hockey abilities, makes it just a defensive powerhouse. Jozu was able to stop one of Mihawk's strongest strongest slashes in the world, and he came out of it pretty clean. There's not much more to mention about this fruit. It's pretty cut and dry. I mean, Jozu only has one named ability in the entire series. It's Brilliant Punk, and it's basically just him tackling his enemies whilst using the Sparkle fruit. So the fact that he was able to like withstand a powerful slash from the strongest swordsman in the entire world is, I think, feat alone to secure the Sparkle fruit's placement at the number 4 spot. Also, another thing I'd like to think about with this fruit is that, given context, like how many people at the War of the Best actually had the capability to defeat Jozu? Who there actually had the capability besides Aokiji, possibly Akainu with his magma burning hot enough to melt Diamond perhaps? And then there's also people like Whitebeard, but beyond that, who there could actually break the defenses of the Diamond fruit? It's actually quite perplexing. This is a fruit that really seems to negate just a lot of people in the One Piece verse, but falls victim to very particular counters. Alright, that's our number 4 spot. Let's move on to number 3. Alright, of course it's making an appearance. It's my favorite fucking fruit, the Nikyu no Mi, aka the Popoff fruit. This is my favorite fruit. It's used by Bartholomew Kuma, and it gives the user permanently engraved paw prints and allows them to repel literally fucking anything into paw-shaped bubbles. Emphasis on anything. That includes tangible things like people or objects or energy, but it's also able to repel non-tangible things like pain. So it's one of those abilities that has an absolute property, like where it's able to repel anything it wants to, but it also just has a loose definition that's seemingly able to allow it to do just whatever it wants. Another JoJo reference here, but it's very similar to Part 8 Josuke's Soft and Wet ability. Soft and Wet is basically able to just steal anything through soap bubbles, similar to how the Popoff fruit user is able to repel anything via these paw bubbles. Soft and Wet was able to steal the moisture out of somebody's body. It was able to literally steal somebody's fucking eyesight, and that way it's very similar to the Popoff fruit. This fruit takes the number 3 spot because its usefulness is basically up to how good the user uses the fruit. Its potential to be a defense and offensive tool are beyond limitless when you take in the fact that it's literally able to repel anything. I believe that the Popoff fruit's definition of being able to repel anything even extends to hockey-powered attacks. I mean, if somebody was able to cut through Kuma's paws with a hockey-covered blade, that would make the fruit kind of horrible. It would also make Kuma seem really lame. I just don't think it's going to happen. Bartholomew Kuma seems to never be hit because he's obviously like a really prominent observation hockey user. So it's basically like the Popoff fruit can just be as amazing as it wants to be. This fruit's potential is just like limitless. That also extends, in my opinion, to its defensive capabilities, so that's the reason it's definitely taking the number 3 spot. Alright, coming in at number 2, probably not surprising here, we have the Tori no Mi Model Phoenix, aka the Bird fruit Model Phoenix. This is Marco's fruit, and it's one of the most beloved fruits in the series for good reason. It's a really rare, unique, and appealing ability. It allows the user to transform into a glowing bright blue phoenix with blue flames, and it gives the user the ability to fly, but it also grants the user the phoenix's ability of regeneration, allowing them to absorb damage and even heal existing wounds on the user's body. Flames can also be extended to other beings, allowing the user to regenerate and heal others if they so wish, which is just fucking crazy, dude. So much utility with this fruit. So many things you can do with it. It's so appealing and just beautiful, the ability to just turn into this awesome phoenix. Pair it with a really likable character like Marco, and you just have an instant fan favorite. The strength of this fruit is that it basically makes the user invincible, allowing them to regenerate continuously with no obvious consequences other than the time it takes to regenerate the damage. This fruit is even better than Logia fruits in the aspect that the user actually takes lethal damage outside of their bird form. They can just literally produce blue flames or turn back into the phoenix and just heal that damage. Whereas when Logia users don't have their ability activated for reasons like hockey or sea stone and they take damage, that damage is fucking like permanent. They can't regenerate it back using their element or ability. It's like gone. This fruit is taking the number 2 spot because it's an incredible defensive feat to be able to regenerate any damage taken to you, and also we don't really fully understand the exact mechanisms of this fruit. The extent to which Marco can take damage has not been explicitly stated by Oda. While it has been said in an early SBS that his regeneration abilities had a limit, it was later stated in a Viver card data book that it seemingly has no limits when applied to himself. Keep Keep in mind, these are all like loose translations and interpretations. This could mean that Oda was like referring to Marco's ability to heal other people. Just because Marco's able to heal and take lethal damage himself and regenerate doesn't mean he's a god doctor who can just heal anyone he wishes as much as he wants. On top of just being invincible for at least a limited period of time, I was under the impression previously that Marco was not able to hurt anyone in the bird form because the harmless blue flames. This is a possible explanation and drawback for being able to regenerate infinitely during combat, except that this dude is still totally fucking able to attack with his talons and probably coat them in hockey, which is just insanely overpowered. Your only option at that point would to be like incapacitate the user, which is hard again because they could fucking fly. I used to think that his bird form did no damage because he was constantly like transforming out of it in combat. I was like, well, there's gotta be a reason for that. It's apparent to me now that Marco does this as like a combat strategy. He's probably able to kick people way more powerfully than he's able to like swipe at people with his talons. Anyways, this fruit has super strong defensive capabilities with no clear definition, along with all the extra useful shit that it can do, and then also the fruit is beautiful, which totally seals its spot at the number 2 place. All right, let's move on to our final fruit. Alright guys, coming in at number 1, we have the Bari Bari no Mi, aka the Barrier fruit. The Bari Bari no Mi is a devil fruit that allows the user to create, control, and manipulate any fashion of barrier, making them a barrier human. It was first seen in this series used by Bartolomeo, but its previous user was Kurozumi Senimaru. This fruit is crazy, like really crazy, because I'm kind of convinced that the barriers created by this fruit are by default indestructible. Like, the durability of these barriers is not determined by the power level or the adeptness of the user. I just think by default that any nitwit with this fruit can just create indestructible fucking barriers. So not only are they able to just create just indestructible barriers at will within a certain volume, but they're able to fully fucking control the barriers, like in any way, put them in any shape that's useful for the user. Basically, they could use it as a form of transportation, they could use it as a weapon, they could just use it as a simple barrier of defense. It has a crazy amount of feats. It was able to effortlessly stop Hack's crazy Fishman punch. The energy created by Eliza Bellows' King Punch was even just effortlessly defended, even though huge claims were made about the King Punch, and we even saw it in action. Like, the King Punch is definitely no joke, but the Bari Bari no Mi had no fucking trouble with it. It even fended off Hakuba's attacks, and Hakuba seemed like really fucking strong. It allows the user to literally make the barriers invisible. I think people forget this a lot. I don't know if the invisible barriers have the same amount of durability as the visible barriers, but the user is literally able to make them invisible. So the user can make invisible barriers, push them around, and control them any way they choose to, which, if you guys actually put some thought into it and maybe pair this fruit with somebody who has like really good hockey abilities, you really truly start to realize how fucking insane this fruit is. Like, you can fully envelop yourself in a small like circle and not use much of your barrier volume, and then just use the remainder of the volume that you have to like maybe even create giant fists out of the barriers or giant blunt objects that you can telepathically control and just fuck up your enemies. This fruit has huge developmental potential. In all honesty, Barto kind of uses it like an idiot. He could literally do so many cool things with it. The thing that totally convinces me that the barriers are unbreakable is that not even an enraged, passionate Kozuki Oden, who most of the community can admit at this point is like around Yonko level, if not Yonko level, he couldn't even shatter the barriers of the Bari Bari no Mi, and this fruit was being wielded by some nobody old man. I'm pretty sure Bartolomeo has even made the proclamation himself that he believes that they're unbreakable. Accompanied by the fact that this fruit has an insane offensive potential and crazy utility potential, the only way I could see someone like beating somebody with the Bari Bari no Mi would probably have to be, again, like a really precise counter. A couple ways that I thought like a user of this fruit could be defeated is like if the user fully surrounded themselves in a shield, then somebody with Conqueror's Haki could possibly incapacitate them and knock them out so that they lose consciousness. Or if somebody has something like the Gas Cast fruit and can control oxygen and deplete the oxygen within the barriers, that is also like a very precise counter. But beyond that, guys, I'm fucking fully convinced the Bari Bari no Mi is just like, in its simple most definition, like the ultimate defensive ability in One Piece. The barriers can be totally controlled to do OP shit. They are seemingly unbreakable. We've even had the user himself proclaim that they're unbreakable, so I'm just gonna go along with the understanding that the barriers are unbreakable, and that this is the ultimate defensive fruit. Anyways, guys, that is my list for the top 5 best defensive fruits in One Piece. Thank you so much for watching. If you have anything that you want to say, please leave it down in the comment section below. I will be sure to get back to you. If you enjoyed the video, please slap a like on it, and if you are enjoying the content that you're seeing on the channel, I would be very flattered if you were to subscribe. Anyways, guys, thank you so much. I'm gonna have to see you in the next one.